Αγαπητοί φίλοι, χαίρετε. Στο απόψινό μας πρόγραμμα θα ασχοληθούμε αρκετά λεπτό για πολύ κόσμο. Ένα θέμα που δεν συζητείται με άνεση λόγω των ηθικών κανόνων της κοινωνίας μας. Πρόκειται για τα πρόσφατα σχόλια του Υπουργού Υγείας του Κεμπέκ, του κυρίου Μάρκ Ιβάν Κοτέ, σχετικά με την ενδεχόμενη νομιμοποίηση των οίκων ανοχής και το επάγγελμα του αγοραίου έρωτα. Σύμφωνα με το άρθρο 210 του ποινικού κώδικα του Καναδά, η λειτουργία οίκων ανοχής είναι ποινικό αδίκημα που τιμωρείται με φυλάκιση μέχρι 2 χρόνων. Επίσης θεωρείται ποινικό αδίκημα το να βρεθεί κάποιος σε ένα τέτοιο κτίριο, σε ένα τέτοιο μέρος, και τιμωρείται με ανάλογο τρόπο. Ο ποινικός κώδικας του Καναδά εφαρμόζεται σε όλες τις επαρχίες του Καναδά και υπερισχύει των άλλων νόμων που θεσπίζουν οι επαρχιακές κυβερνήσεις. Πρόκειται δηλαδή για δικαιοδοσία που ανήκει στην Ομοσπονδιακή Κυβέρνηση. Μαζί μας έχουμε απόψε τον δικαστή και διακεκριμένο ποινικολόγο, τον κύριο Lahey, ο οποίος έχει ήδη δώσει συνεντεύξεις στην καναδική τηλεόραση σχετικά με το θέμα αυτό και με τις επιπτώσεις που μια ενδεχόμενη αλλαγή στην νομοθεσία μπορούν να υπάρξουν στην κοινωνία του Κεμπέκ και βέβαια στον Καναδά. Ο κύριος Lahey είναι δικηγόρος, όπως είπα προηγουμένως, ποινικολόγος που εξασκεί το επάγγελμα από το 1966, εργάστηκε για το Legal Aid και δίδαξε ποινικό δίκαιο στο Πανεπιστήμιο του Μοντρεάλ. Maître Lahey, bienvenue à notre programme. On vous remercie pour avoir accepté d'assister à notre émission de ce soir. Thank you very much for being here with us tonight. The recent comments made by the Minister of Health, Mr. Mark Ivan Coté, proposed to actually reverse the status quo in a very controversial subject, to say the least. I would like to ask you first to give a summary to our viewers, a simple statement of what is the present picture in the Canadian legislation concerning this subject.
Okay. First of all, we have to know that prostitution is not illegal in Canada. What is unlawful it's different way of practicing the prostitution, because prostitution is not a crime. What is a crime is the fact of keeping a common body house. You know, what we call, generally speaking, brothel. This is illegal for a person to keep a common body house, or also to be an inmate in a common body house, or to be found without legal justification in a common body house, or also for example, for a taxi driver, for a person, it's an example, as a taxi driver, to drive somebody knowingly, you know, he knows in advance that he's driving somebody in a common body house. This is a crime in Canada, punishable by fine or imprisonment. So this is one of the 3 ways that are illegal, the keeping of a common body house. Another way of practicing the prostitution is the street soliciting. This is a second way of practicing, which is illegal in Canada. That means that somebody who communicate or attempt to communicate with another person for the purpose of prostitution in the street or in a parking lot or in a public place may be arrested. It is completely illegal and brought into justice in front of the court, and then be, if found guilty, be sentenced to a fine or also imprisonment. A third way of being in the illegality for a person is to be involved as a pimp. The criminal code says that somebody who attempts or procure a person to become a prostitute might be arrested and punished within the law. It's also unlawful to act as a pimp in the way of living wholly or in part of the avails of a prostitute. This is also, this is the third way of being acting while it is unlawful. But prostitution in itself is not unlawful. For example, a person is entitled from his home or his bedroom to call a call girl or a male, if it's a male, in order to obtain sexual services by way of, in return of a payment, you know. That means prostitution. This is legal from a private place to a private place because the state has nothing to do in the bedrooms, as it was said by somebody earlier.
That's right. Excuse me. However, you did mention the ways in which prostitution becomes illegal, and one of the most important, I suppose, examples is the fact that practicing prostitution in a house is illegal.
Yes,
home, a house.
It's illegal for a prostitute to have a business place
in which
she practices either prostitution or indecency with people in return of a payment of money.
Mr. Coté mentioned that he would like to see a change in the status quo, and he hinted that he might encourage the change of legislation. Now, I just want you to comment on that in the sense that I would like our viewers to know what is the legal aspect of the possibility of changing of the law. Can Quebec enact legislation that can change all this?
No, definitely no.
Quebec can't.
Quebec can't. It's only Parliament, I mean the federal government, is entitled to legislate in criminal matters, and prostitution belongs to criminal matters. So it's only Parliament who would be able to, who would be allowed to legislate, or bring a new legislation in this field. But Mr. Coté gave an opinion as a human being. But I don't think, and he did not give many precision, but I don't think that Mr. Coté wanted to encourage prostitution. I think that what he had in mind is the fact of by changing the legislation to allow the state, the government, to have control on prostitution in order to not eliminate, because you know, as prostitution is as old as human life on the earth, and you will never be able as a government, as a state, to eliminate prostitution. Maybe you can improve the way of living of the citizens and also of the prostitute, but you can't eliminate. But if you succeed by controlling, legalizing some aspect of prostitution, and I'm sure it's my own opinion, I'm not in favor of legalizing the street soliciting. This remains a common nuisance. I'm not in favor of legalizing anything involving the pimps, the person who earns his living in whole or in part by from the fruit of the prostitute. What I would suggest, and probably Mr. Coté has in mind, is to eliminate the body house, you know, illegal body house, but to accept legalized establishment, you know, where prostitution would be allowed, but only between adults and only under certain conditions. I mean, the prostitute would have to report regularly to obtain a license in order to work, and also to report and be submitted to medical survey in order to improve the quality of her life. I mean, to withdraw her submission to pimps in order to assure that the public health won't be affected, to eliminate MTS contamination, and also to be sure that she will pay some taxes on her income from her living.
Okay, so you're saying in effect that what probably prompted Mr. Coté's comments is the fact that by legalizing certain aspects of this practice, the government could exert better control.
Better control.
Protect the health.
Yes.
Also generate some income through taxation.
Yes.
For the government, and basically not encourage prostitution, because this is what is the reaction of many of the critics of those comments. That's why the comments have become controversial. There are those who say, well, if they let go of legislation that limits the practice, then it's tantamount to encouraging.
Exactly.
What do you
Absolutely
think about
not by encouraging, and at the same time, it will give you the tools to adopt some measures, legal, social measures, that would attack directly on the ultimate causes of prostitution, which are, as you know, poverty, violence, familial violence, sex abuse against the child, and drugs, alcoholism. So at the same time, if you fix as the target the fact of attacking the ultimate cause of prostitution, you will be at the same time in a position to control by legalization.
Now, assuming that such a legislation may be enacted in the future by the Canadian government, how do you think that this may affect the social fabric of Quebec society? Do you foresee any significant organized reaction against any changes in the law by any particular interest groups or by individuals? Knowing the Quebec society better than myself, suppose you're born and raised in Quebec, how would you see the reaction to such an attempt?
Well, if the people, part of the people have in mind that legalizing means encouraging, I'm sure they will raise campaign against the legalization of prostitution in the sense that I told you before. But if you really understand the aim, if you really understand the view of the legalization, then you can't be against it, because if you understand that you will never succeed in eliminating prostitution, but by controlling it you will improve. You know, the first victim in prostitution is the prostitute himself.
That's right.
Male or female.
That's right. That's right.
So you know, and they start very young.
That's true.
That's unfortunate. You have familial violence. You have the person under 18 who is going out all by herself on a fugue, and then instead of stealing, she prostitutes, or he prostitutes himself, and then he falls in alcoholism, he became a drug addict, and it's a vicious circle.
Vicious circle, that's right.
So if you control, you will withdraw this person from the control of a pimp. You know, she will be able, or he will be able, to live all by himself, and with, at the same time, in the condition that it will be controlled, the person will be controlled.
If I may, I would like now to make a summary of what you said for our viewers who do not speak or do not understand very well English. Θα ήθελα να κάνω μια ελεύθερη μετάφραση, σύνοψη των όσων μας είπε ο Maître Lahey, για αυτούς από τους φίλους μας που δεν καταλαβαίνουν καλά τα αγγλικά. Στην ερώτησή μου σχετικά με το κατά πόσο θα ήταν δυνατόν το Quebec, η κυβέρνηση του Quebec να περάσει μια τέτοια νομοθεσία, η απάντηση ήταν καθαρά όχι, διότι όπως ανέφερα και στην εισαγωγή που έκανα, πρόκειται για δικαιοδοσία καθαρά της ομοσπονδιακής κυβέρνησης του Καναδά, και το μόνο που μπορεί να κάνει μια επαρχία είναι βεβαίως να εκφράσει την γνώμη της, να κάνει κάποια πίεση κλπ. Στην άλλη ερώτηση που έκανα σχετικά με το τι έκανε την κυβέρνηση ή μάλλον τον κύριο Κοτέ να κάνει αυτά τα σχόλια, η απάντηση ήταν ότι ίσως η πρόθεσή του ήταν θετική, δηλαδή με το control το οποίο θα μπορούσε να έχει, με τον έλεγχο που θα μπορούσε να έχει η κυβέρνηση στο θέμα αυτό του αγοραίου έρωτα, θα μπορούσε να εξασφαλίσει καλύτερες συνθήκες για την υγεία, και θα μπορούσε βέβαια συγχρόνως να επωφεληθεί και από τους φόρους που κάποιοι εργαζόμενοι ή κάποιος εργαζόμενος θα κατέβαλε στην κυβέρνηση. Και η τρίτη ερώτηση που το έκανε ήταν ποια θα ήταν η αντίδραση της κοινωνίας του Κεμπέκ σε μια τέτοια προσπάθεια, γνωρίζοντας καλύτερα από μένα την κοινωνία του Κεμπέκ, γεννημένος εδώ και στο επάγγελμά του σαν δικαστής. Και η απάντηση ήταν ότι τα πάντα θα εξαρτηθούν από πώς θα προωθήσει αυτού του είδους την αλλαγή η κυβέρνηση του Κεμπέκ. Δηλαδή αν εξηγήσει στον κόσμο ότι δεν πρόκειται να ενθαρρύνει αυτού του είδους το επάγγελμα, αν θέλετε, μια τέτοια νομοθεσία, αλλά απλώς να τη θέσει υπό έλεγχο. Met Lahey, on behalf of our viewers, I would like to thank you again for your presence in our program tonight and for your informative input in that so controversial and delicate subject. Φίλοι μας, εδώ τελείωσε η απόψινή μας εκπομπή. Θα θέλαμε να σας υπενθυμίσουμε ότι δεχόμαστε πάντα με ευχαρίστηση ερωτήματά σας και γραμματά σας στη διεύθυνση της ελληνικής τηλεόρασης σχετικά με τα θέματα των εκπομπών μας. Θα είμαστε πάλι μαζί σας την ερχόμενη εβδομάδα και μέχρι τότε γεια σας.